Hey everybody, it's Mark Yoshimoto Nemkov, and this is a microphone that I built by hand. So, many years ago, I endeavored to build myself some microphones. I knew nothing about electronics, knew nothing about soldering, had to teach myself everything. And in the process, it was not an inexpensive process because part of that process was buying microphones to mod. Replacing parts in the microphones with better parts and, really kind of seeing what happens. And in that process, I destroyed a crap ton of microphones. And then finally, I came to the point where I was proficient enough where I wasn't destroying microphones. And I felt really good about it. So I moved on to building kit microphones from microphone parts. And then eventually, building microphones from scratch. Sourcing my own parts. And putting together something that works. And it's a really, really fun endeavor. And you end up with some cool work tools in the process. So this microphone, to me, it sounds like a cross between an 87 and a 67. So to me, I have really kind of the best of both worlds. In a microphone that really gives me more that modern 87-ish top, but a little bit leans more into the vintageist, a vintage-leaning mid-range. But it's not too thick, and I'll tell you why. I specifically wanted this microphone to be, I don't want to say neutral, but I didn't want it to have a ton of coloration. Now, if you noticed from the Soyuz 017 FET, the Soyuz 017 FET uses a similar capsule, a K67 style capsule, but it has a little bit more color to it. Here, let me switch. Here we go. Okay, so this is the Soyuz 017 FET, and you can hear the difference right away. And so we're back on this, and one of the things that I want to do with this microphone. Here, let me show you the inside real quick. So, just a quick peek. You only get a peek. And there's the tube. And the tube is an Amperex EF86 sourced from Bowie. Bowie, a.k.a. Christian Whitmore, Proaudiotubes. Who, this guy is a freaking tube genius. If you need a tube, go to Bowie. You may pay a little bit more, but what you're going to get is amazing. Amazing. So, anyway. So I wanted to put in these capacitors in this microphone that would be really sonically pure. So I got these sonic caps. The white caps, capacitors you see are sonic caps. And they're supposed to be a really high fidelity, uncolored. And I feel like this is what I got. I could have made a much more harmonically rich microphone. But I wanted something really more in the vein of a cleaner sound for this. More like if you want to do animation, right? Animation type voices, character voices, you don't want too much color on it.
If you want to do characters, you gotta make sure the characters come through. You gotta make sure all the nuance is there. Otherwise, you're gonna lose your character. Well, that's what I said. I said you're gonna lose your character if you don't do it right. If you make too much harmonic coloration in the sound, the sound is going to be full of too much that's going to obscure your character's nuance.
Well, I don't know about that. I don't know you're gonna screw it up too bad. You gonna screw it up too bad? Well, I think you might just do it anyway. Because you know what? Harmonic coloration adds a lot of thickness to the sound, and I like thickness.
Well, I don't like thickness too much when I'm doing animation characters. I want my characters to be really pure. I want them to sound like they're right there with you.
So sorry. So anyway, I wanted to have the microphone sound a little bit more transparent. I didn't want it to lean too hard into a colored sound. And I'm very happy with what I got. My one qualm, though, is that using a tube microphone. Now, the reason I did that, apologies for the jump cut. We had a delivery come to the door, and the dogs went bat crap crazy. So you don't need to hear that. So anyway, I'm talking about tubes. So using a tube mic for VO is slightly problematic. And I remember reading a post by Gearspace user MBVoxx, who I believe is also a VO guy. And he was talking about using his manly cardioid, reference cardioid in the booth, and it died in the middle of a session. And he did not have a replacement tube for it. So what do you do? So I bought a replacement tube for this from Bowie. Bought a second Amperex. And these things are not common tubes. These are hard to find tubes. And luckily he had a second one that was a fairly close match, I believe. But a second one from the same batch. And so I bought it as a backup. But I've noticed over time that this tube is becoming a little bit more creamy sounding as it breaks in. So it does, if I had to replace the tube in the middle of a session with the other NOS Amperex, which is the same type, same year, I think, same pretty much, it's not going to sound exactly the same. So that's a little problematic. I know that's a panic monkey kind of thing. Oh my God, my tube is here. But I'm concerned. It's one more thing to worry about that I don't need to worry about. And I know some people say that just plug it in, let it warm up for 30 seconds and use it. But you know what? I go by a thing called science. And science dictates that a tube works through a thing called thermonic emission. And thermonic emission is basically the process of when you apply power to a tube, when you heat up the tube, the electrons that are deposited on the cathode, they release basically more efficiently. The release of the release of electrons from the cathode is more efficient over time. So that's why when you've used a tube a lot, you definitely hear a difference because it breaks in. There's a break-in period. And even when you have not used a microphone overnight and you turn it on the next day, there's still, for me, it takes at least a half hour for it to return to that full efficiency of the tube. You know, it's like when you have a car in a cold climate, you have to let your car warm up just a little bit in order for it to be running efficiently and properly, like normally. And that's the way I feel about tubes. So, you know, I'm not necessarily feeling like a tube mic is the best option in the booth, but, you know, you use the tools you have and try to use the best sounding tools you have. And I really like this microphone a lot. This microphone, I haven't told you the name of it because it's kind of, I don't know. I don't want it to sound elitist, but this is the Unobtainium. This is the MYN Unobtainium. There are 3 of these in the world, and that's it. There are going to be no more. There are 3. I own one, obviously. Duh. Blake Morgan in New York City. Producer, artist, advocate, one of my best friends on the planet. Blake Morgan. He owns the second one. And Chris Barron, lead singer of the Spin Doctors, owns the third one. And that's it. I'm not building anymore, so please don't ask. So, the Unobtainium. Do I use this mic? Do I keep it in the booth? What do you think? Anyway, remember to like and subscribe. I'm going to do more stuff. I'm definitely going to do the V67 soon, but I have other custom mics. I have other mics I've customized. Maybe I'll even pull out a couple of those mic parts mics. Let me know what you think. Till next time, this is Mark Yoshimoto Nemkov, fading to black.